Hi everyone, this is Amanda Ellis of amandaellis.co.uk, Facebook page Angelic Celestial Colours, making a short video on Boxing Day 2016. Didn't think I was going to be speaking to you today, but feels like there's a message coming through and I've got a quiet half hour, so we're just going to have a little chat. Lighting a candle here to George Michael and all of the stars who have lit up our world and who have passed in 2016. Wanted to say something about George Michael's death, actually, which feels very symbolic. Him passing on Christmas Day, December the 25th, 2016. Yet another death, celebrity death, in a year that's seen a lot of them. We know already that these deaths are to help us as a species open up our hearts to love, to recognizing those who are with us, appreciating those who are with us, telling those that we love them, appreciating the talent and the gifts of many who are out there, really just to brighten our world. And George Michael was one of those. His death, though, on Christmas Day, as I say, does feel symbolic, as does the dates of a couple of other deaths. I wanted to mention David Bowie and Prince in particular. I'm feeling, the more I've dwelled on it this morning, and the more, Metatron's just been sort of in the background, sort of talking to me a little bit about it, that what is happening is that the soul's choice is becoming more and more evident. The soul is always the one that chooses its moment of death. The soul is always the one that is actually the boss in this life. We don't pay attention to our soul as much as we should do. We listen to our lower self a lot of the time. Those of us that are on our spiritual path, and you are if you're watching this, we try to listen to our higher self as much as possible, and Archangel Metatron and all the angels are about helping us with that. But we can all sink down into lower thoughts from time to time. But the soul never does that. The soul is just this beautiful light, this bright light that we all have within us, that is eternal, that lives on, that has lived before, that knows us completely. It is us. And so many of us are fragmented as well, and we belong to each other. We make up a huge super soul, and when one of us dies, we feel it because we are all part of that wider consciousness, that wider soul group. And George Michael at 53 certainly is one of my generation. I'm 50 next year, so he's one of my generation. Grew up with him like many of you did that are probably watching this. But the thing about a true talent is that they transcend generations. So your teenagers will have maybe noticed it, younger people notice it, older people, even if they don't like the music, sort of doff their cap, realizing that somebody's come in and has made a difference. But as I say, that day of death, Christmas Day, 25 years after he made one of my favourite songs of his, which is called Praying for Time, on Christmas Day, when his song Last Christmas would have been played by an awful lot of people and enjoyed by a lot of people year after year, just feels sort of symbolic. It feels as though he chose his moment to go. Praying for time, yeah, we're all praying for time. We're all praying for extra time on this beautiful earth. We're all praying for time, for more time for peace to come into our world, which has never been more needed than right now on the cusp of 2017. Praying for peace, praying for more time for compassion, praying for more time for more people to open up their hearts. Ultimately, this is what all of these celebrity deaths is about. It's about trying to help us open our hearts that have become quite hardened over the years, not always because of fear or negativity, but because we've been hurt, we've been betrayed, whether in this lifetime or in previous lifetimes. We've learned to guard this part of ourselves. Because this is our true center. Our heart is our true center, and it's sacred and it's precious. And sometimes we give away our hearts too easily to those that don't really even appreciate them. And so we guard it. There is a protection that comes into this place. And these deaths that come in help to open it up again. It's definitely what I felt this morning when I heard the news. I was first A, shocked, B, saddened, and then I felt my heart just opening. The trick is when your heart's opened, even if you're feeling sad, is to keep it open, because the more you keep it open, you can A, release any pain or grief that's in there, but also it means that when it's open, you can open up to receive. You can open up to receive all the amazing blessings and joy of this time of year. And the light that is here, whether we know it or not, whether we feel it or not, it always comes in around this period. So hats off to George Michael. Thank you for the beautiful music. Also wanting to mention again this soul message that comes in a lot, and the feeling that we are being shown more and more that souls choose their moment of passing. David Bowie illustrated it beautifully this year as well, just after writing what was going to be his last CD. That makes me sound so old. His last album, that makes me sound even older. His last piece of music, that beautiful single, Lazarus. He knew, I think at human level, he felt he had more time, and he was documented as saying that, but his soul knew, his soul knew the game was up. And then you can see it so beautifully in the video and the music that he made at that time. His soul knew. Prince died around the time of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee in this country. I mention the Queen because she doesn't stand. The colour purple is associated with royalty, but royalty not just in terms of a royal family, but in terms of sovereignty, reminding us that we are all sovereign. And I talked about that at the time that Prince died. But he died in the midst of all those Diamond Jubilee celebrations for what is a royal figure in our midst. And pretty much within 24 hours of the Niagara Falls having been lit up in the Queen's honour in purple. And so we had all these cascades of purple rain in terms of the Niagara Falls coming in at his moment of passing. There was a message he was passing on there to all of us, that we are all sovereign. And there was also, it was those three in particular, but I feel there were probably others. Over Christmas, actually, I sat down and I watched a comedy in the UK. It's called The Royal Family. Don't know if you know it in other countries, but it's a very British comedy, really. It's a family of couch potatoes who sit on a sofa, watch a lot of TV, but it is beautifully observed in terms of human nature. And the ironic joke really about it is that the episode they showed was to do with the passing of the loved Nana, the grandma that was there. And it was sad when it was shown 3-4 years ago. It was even sadder this year because the lady who wrote it, who also stars in it, Caroline Aherne, had died in her late 40s this year as well. So you're watching this very beautifully observed piece of comedy, which had pathos within it, which was about a family saying goodbye to its eldest Nana, its eldest figure. But actually, we know now in real life, Caroline Aherne obviously has passed over too. And then the dad in this TV show is, as I say, he's the real couch potato who never does anything. He's actually the one that's still alive in this real life, the wonderful Ricky Tomlinson, who I'm sure isn't a couch potato in real life. But again, it's just like these messages that are coming through that you never quite know. You never quite know when you're going to pass. It's so important to tell people that you love them. It's so important to appreciate those that are in our life, whether personally or just in our world, in terms of the stars that are in our world. There were two things I also wanted to mention. On the radio here in the UK this morning, it's all been Wham and George Michael songs on, and I've really enjoyed listening to them. But there've been some amazing anecdotes that people have been talking about as well. And one person rang in who was a contestant on a British game show called Deal or No Deal here in the UK. She went on it a few years ago, was wanting desperately to win the jackpot prize, which was about £20,000, because she wanted to have an IVF child and couldn't afford the treatment. And she lost. She didn't win any money. George Michael was watching that programme when it was broadcast, and secretly and in private gave her the money as a gift to have the IVF treatment. That's the sort of memory you want people to have of you, of somebody who was warm-hearted and generous. and he did it in private as well. And it's so important that when we pass, that we're remembered kindly and with love through the gestures we make, through the talent that we have, and we all have talent, we all have gifts, but very much through the love that we share and the compassion that we share for other people as well. So that was a nice story today on the radio. There was one other thing that I wanted to mention, and it's gone out of my mind for the moment. So I'm just going to just spend a moment looking at this beautiful flame. Maybe as we do that, we just remember all of those that we've lost and loved this year. And actually just staring at the flame, it's reminded me of what I wanted to say, which was that it's about living life. The thing with stars when they pass is that you realise, oh wow, they were amazing and they did so much and I loved it, and why wasn't I listening to it more when they were alive? But also just to, if you can, see the people that you want to see when they're still here with us. I've for years wanted to go and see Bruce Springsteen. I've loved Bruce Springsteen for years. He's one of my top 3 artists, and he just makes me feel alive. And each time he comes anywhere near the UK and tours, I always have the same thought that goes through my head, which is, oh, it's too expensive. I can't do that. I'll do it another time, which A, is wrong from an abundance consciousness perspective. I'll give myself a rap on the nails for that. But equally, it's about, no, don't wait. Go and see them whilst they're still here. So enjoy the last few days of this year. I do feel that it's been a tough year. There's been a lot of people that have passed, as I say, both personally and in our collective consciousness. But it's all been about trying to open our hearts, get these emotions out of us, this sadness, the grief. And I do feel that there's still a couple more to come, whether it's before the end of this year, it could be. There's one person in particular who may pass within the next few days, or whether it's going to be in the beginning of 2017. But it's a big passing, which again will herald a Metatron is saying a tsunami of outpouring of grief, but it's needed for us to be able to receive. You can't receive something into your heart if your heart is completely closed and clogged up. It has to be emptied, cleansed is maybe a better word, and then you can receive the love from the higher realms that wants to come in to help us. So be prepared that there may be some more passings to come, but let's honour the ones that we know of at this time of making this video, which, as I say, is the 26th of December. I wish you a good festive period that's remaining. I suspect I might be speaking to you before New Year's Day. We'll see how the news goes over the next few days. But lots of love, everyone. Remember, above all else, to tell people that you love them. Bye-bye.